Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you join us from in the world. Welcome to Open Up, our live talk show. I'm RJ Horner, and I'm the host for Open Up. I'm also the vice president of Voice of Men 360. Voice of Men 360 is a not for profit organization founded in Toronto, Canada in 2020. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to help our men and boys to support them to overcome their challenges that they face in life. We're part of International Men's Day. And International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years so far and now represented in 90 countries around the world doing various activities. IMD follows 6 pillars, which represent the overall well-being of boys and men, and we follow in those same footsteps here. So why is Open Up so important? Because we men are not willing to open up our hearts or open up and share our heart or our matters with anyone. And when we keep these within ourselves, they create emotional challenges or ill health effects, which we're trying to avoid and trying to eliminate here. That's why we want to create an open space and allow individuals to share their life journey through our platform. We aim to create awareness about the life challenges, struggles, and the overcomings that our boys and men have to go through in their lives. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. With sharing your life journey, all walks of life are invited to participate. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this program. Open Up is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we bring individuals to show and let them share their life experiences with you. We'd like to remind you at this time that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not necessarily represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness to the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We're not participating in educational or medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. Our organization engages in discussion forums only to create awareness to the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. If you have any questions about today's episodes or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us info@voiceofmen360.org. I say our guest today is shy. He's going to prove me wrong, but he just doesn't feel he has to create a bio. And you're going to find out why. He let us know, though, he is an entrepreneur, a mortgage broker, and a community activist. So please welcome Shane Suepaul. Thank you for joining us and being willing to share your life journey with us today.
RJ, thank you. If you don't mind me calling you RJ, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to come on here today and share some experiences with our virtual community. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's exactly what we're about. We're about sharing your life experiences for the benefit of others. And so we're going to ask you to open up a little bit. First, we didn't get much of a bio. So tell people about yourself. Who is Shane right now? So Shane Suepaul, the man with 3 names. Tell us a little bit more about him.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago. Currently, I serve as the chair of council at my church, which is located in Whitby. I actually am a trustee with a seniors organization out of Scarborough. I work with another organization called Culture Is We, and I do other stuff too on the side. I find that getting involved is very important and giving back. And that goes back to my youth. When growing up with my dad, he always taught us to give back. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a mortgage broker by trade. Have been in the business for over 30 years. Formerly president on 2 different occasions of the Canadian Mortgage Brokers Association of Ontario. And that board, I spent about 15 years on that board working and trying to bring up the work that mortgage brokers do so they can get some more respect in our community. So that's a little bit about me. I am married. I've been married 40 years, August gone. I've got 3 adult sons. 2 are married. I've got 2 grandchildren, and my last son is still single, and he lives on his own in Toronto. My other 2 sons live out here in Durham, which is in Pickering and Bowmanville. My wife is a retired bank manager, and that's me. That's as simple as I can get, and I love getting involved. So
yeah. It sounds like it, and sounds like you have quite the life put together. You've had quite the life experience to share. This is exactly the type of person we want on our show. And you mentioned two things: your youth, and your father. Those two things we're going to get to right off the top of the show. So tell me first a little bit about yourself as a young boy. What can you remember? Maybe that even might have led towards the advocate that you were to become.
Okay. My, growing up in a home where the three oldest siblings were all boys, and me being the youngest, we were exposed from a very young age. I can tell you, being Christians in Trinidad, belonging to the Presbyterian Church, we were taken as little children, 4 years old, 5 years old, to go to church. My dad, and we didn't have a car. My dad used to have to travel with us on Christmas morning to go keep services. So we learned from that time about giving back without looking for anything to get back anything from anyone. The other thing is, growing up, I found that we were involved in the church with regards to youth group, that sort of thing, and I naturally morphed into being somewhat of a leader. And over that period of time, I became adventurous to a certain extent because it was important. We lived in a relatively safe society at that point in time. So being a young man, you would tend to go out and meet people. And I was told that I was not afraid to speak from a small age, from a young age, I should say. So that helped me through the years. However, my dad passed when I was 18 years old. I was already working in the bank, and he passed. And through the bank, I had to get a mentor after I crossed 18, because at that point, up to that point, my dad was my mentor. He was a teacher, and we watched him. We watched him grow in teaching. I learned from my other two brothers who were older than me about being men in our society. And I think that brings me right up to today, where I think it is important that we as males, right, and I know it's difficult, but it's important that we talk about it, because inherent in our DNA is the fact that we don't like to talk about our feelings, that sort of thing. So that's a brief history of how I got to where I am. I had a mentor growing up, and after my dad passed away when I was 18 years old, and that was key. And I think that is key for anyone in the age from 15 upwards to 25, even 30. As you get older, you look for mentors, and throughout your life, you look to people that you can respect, that you can learn things from.
Yes. Thank you. That's exactly what it is. We can't stop learning, regardless of the age we're at. Now, you mentioned your father was no longer with you at the age of after the age of 18. As you're trying to mature, thankfully you had a mentor with you. But maybe share some of the experiences or the influences that your father gave you up until that time.
I think the key thing here was respect. You first of all have to respect yourself, and when you respect yourself and what you do, you in turn will respect other people. If you don't respect yourself, no people wouldn't respect you. And the thing, I was having a conversation today with someone. We were driving to a seminar, and we were talking about please and thank you, right? And I think the society today, we've lost that. And I hate to run off here a little bit, but growing up, we were taught that it's important to say please and thank you. And my dad used to always encourage us to learn and to do things, right? My grandfather had an estate, and we used to go there on we call it summer vacation here in Trinidad. We call it August holidays. And we used to learn from my grandfather there. He was like the village person. People used to come to him for stuff, and you'd learn how to speak to people, how to talk to people, how to learn how to do things. And I think that's important, because a lot of the males today don't have that mentor in their life to be able to tell them. It's becoming more and more difficult with technology to learn to sit down one-on-one and have conversations. But my dad really used to have conversations with us. They weren't long conversations, but back then, once he said something to you, you understand what he meant.
Mhm. You took on the father's role, I think, or at least what we expect from our fathers, which is to impart wisdom, right? We look up to our fathers for however long they're with us,
Mhm.
and we rely on them for their experience, right? So
Correct.
for I think when they share that with us, we should take it as the invaluable, lore and wisdom that it is, and learn from it. Exactly. Take the lessons from it.
Yeah, and I think I got married at age 24, and my three sons they're saw a dad that led by example, and I think that is key also today because a lot of dads are not leading by example. I think it's very important because it starts at the home. Yeah, there are some of it in school and society, that sort of thing. But I think it's important that the male figure in the house lead by example, by the way they treat their wives, by the way they have their life principles are very important. And I think that's key today, life principles. You set your life principles properly so your young kids growing up, young men today, and my boys, I know, they can attest to that they saw me grow up and lead the home with example, right? How you do things, how you and today they don't hesitate in calling me up. My 35-year-old son will call me up, say, "Hey, Dad, how could I go about doing this? I'm trying to do this piece of work," that sort of thing. And I think that's key and that's important, and that's what we're missing a fair bit now with encouraging that role and these a lot of the young men today are not getting that because of either broken marriages, absentee fathers, whatever it is,
Mhm.
So
I love that you mentioned that because, again, you seem to have a relatively solid home, good happy family. I don't know your background. I don't know if there's trouble in the works in the family, but the advice you gave was things that could be applied, whether you have a happy family or not, or that estranged family where it's an absentee father who you can still lead by example with your sons or daughters. You can still share that time and have communication with them and open up that channel and just be there for them, regardless of whether both parents are together or whatever situations may arise. You can still you know share this advice or you use this advice that you just gave us.
yeah, I think it's important that we continue even as we get older and we have our grandchildren. Right now, I have two grandchildren that we lead by example again, and we encourage them. I think it's important also that even as leaders in our not in our own family unit, but outside there in society, when we go out, we carry ourselves about in a respectable manner, and we show the young men that, hey, look, listen, it doesn't have to be about drugs and guns and whatever else or derogatory stuff that can happen to them. You find yourself a good mentor. And I always say this because I act as a mentor, being a mortgage broker, right? I act as a mentor to a lot of young people getting into the business or people that are getting into the business. They need to know the right way of doing the business. And one of my famous lines is, you do it right the first time. I think that's very important. And if we do it right the first time, I think that will leave an impression that this is how we're supposed to do it. And that comes to being a male example out here in society.
I like that attitude, I do, but what about the thought? I mean, you can get it wrong, right?
Well, you can get it wrong sometimes. I mean, our society and the stuff that's happening in our society is constantly changing. Okay. However, I think there are a lot of good people still in good males in our society, and the challenge is that we have to be. If we get it wrong, we first of all we have to admit that we got it wrong, right? When we admit that we get it wrong, then they will, our younger people, the people that are looking up to us, can see that, you know what, it doesn't have to be, as we say, wrong and strong. We admit that we're wrong and we find the right way of doing it. And I think that's a problem today, that some of us are not, as we say, man enough to admit that we've done something wrong. And one of my favorite lines with young people these days, when I see them and I see they're kind of going a little straight, I said, listen, you got to man up, okay? Especially if I come across a young person that is in a in a home where there isn't a male figure to look up to. I says, how are you making out? I says, listen, if you need to talk anytime, I am here. You can give me a call. Here's my cell number. Here's my phone number. Call me and talk to me, because I think they have to be comfortable with you, and you develop that relationship. I think, and relationship is very important. I think we've lost some of that relationship happening, and that is, and it's happening more today because of technology. We don't get the opportunity, and the pandemic has thrown us for a loop also, but we don't get that opportunity to sit down one-on-one with individuals. Like, we're doing this virtually, but I feel like you're sitting right next to me asking me the questions. And that's important because you develop a relationship with that person, and they'll in turn know how to come to you and ask you questions. So you have to admit when you're wrong sometimes.
Absolutely. And you know what? The minute you admit it, you can learn from it or change it or do better, or you open up the circumstance. So I just wanted to get that. Okay, it's okay to get it wrong. But I think what you were trying to get at as well in setting, doing it right the first time is, setting the foundation, teaching people that this is the way things should be done. And then now you have an ideal with how to live.
Correct. And I think, and I'll use myself as an example, right? I mean, I got married when I was 24 years old. And like every marriage, there are going to be trip ups here and there, but you stick it out, and you set that example for everyone else. And I can tell you, in my family, we are respected because of the way we have brought up my wife and myself, and she has a lot to play with it too. But my wife and myself have developed that relationship and shown the public and shown our relatives, our kids, everyone, this is how it's done. We're going to trip up occasionally, and men, we are going to trip up occasionally, but we have to admit, we have to look at ways of fixing it, and then we move on. I think that's very important. So setting that base and finding that base, and I hate, I'm not pushing religion here, but I think it's important that we find something to live for,
Yes.
right? And it's important that we find something to live for. I don't care what religious group you belong to, but you should find something that is worthwhile looking forward to, right? And get involved with it, because that gives you a good base. My good base was that I was brought up within the church, okay? And brought up in the church, we were told when you get married for life. Okay, you're not getting married, and you set that example, and I'm hoping that we can bring that back because of the high rate of incidents of divorces right now. And both sides are to blame, but the man has to take a lot of responsibility. He has to work with it. He should be setting an example for his wife, how he carries himself, how he behaves, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. We all have to set an example, not just for our partners, or for the people around us, for our children to come. Right? They look up to us, and will continue to look up to us. You've had a couple children, couple grandchildren coming into your life. They're all going to look up to you and want that good counsel that you've been able to provide by example.
Right. And I'll give you a little example of me being who I am. I work with a seniors organization in Scarborough, and they're doing a bunch of virtual shows. And I have been the MC for the shows. And I told them, I says, you don't just hand me the program and I'm just going to take the program and work with it. I do some research. I do some reading. I check out who's on the program. You can't just, you don't morph into something. You got to do some reading. And I think as individuals, we've lost that ability to read or to listen, right, and learn from people that have gone before us, that have. And I think it's very important, because you know what, I heard the saying many years ago, right? If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. To get something different, you got to do something different. And it's important that if we find that we're starting to stumble, then we got to reassess the situation and says, why am I stumbling? Why am I not setting a good example, right? And I think that's important also, so it is important to continually try to up your game, as we say.
Yes, thank you for that, because you led into my next line of topics. Is that you seem to take on a leadership role in everything you do. You mentioned that you're a chair of your church, you're a trustee for a board in Scarborough, a member of the board with your mortgage directors. You're always on boards. You're always trying to influence. Tell us a little bit about that. Why? Why is that so important to you?
I believe it's because I believe in giving back. I think it's important. People say, you ask someone to get on a board, I don't have the time. And I'm thinking, well, hold on here a second. Even, and I told Stephen this earlier on, I spent 15 years when my boys were growing up in scouting in Whitby, the town where we lived in. And I got involved because I think the young men at that point they needed leaders. And I led the group of leaders. The reason I do that is because I feel, and my dad taught me from young, you got to give back. A lot of us talk about giving back, but we don't do it. We can talk the talk, but can we walk the walk? And I think it's important we don't only talk the talk, but we walk it. And I give back, and it's important that you give people the benefit of your experience, your knowledge, the things that you do. And over the years, I've been fortunate to have good mentors that have led me, that have taught me things, and I continue to learn as I go forward. Also, even my wife teaches me occasionally, but it's important to have good mentors. And I think with the way technology has taken away some of that, yeah, we can read so much, but having physical conversation, one-on-one conversation with a lot of with individuals can help you develop that. And I end up leading because I don't shy away from leading. I'll be honest with you. I don't shy away from doing stuff, from volunteering. That sort of. I think it's important that we do that because we are losing that ability. Volunteerism is disappearing in our society, and that's why we as men have to step up and bring it back. As I said, up our game.
Yes, sir. And so and that's something exactly. I learned it from Sam Hundal. Again, you mentioned these one-on-one conversations. I talked to him at one point, and he's led. He's quite the influential life within Brampton culture. He for a long time. So one day I said to him, "Well, how do you become so influential?" He says, "Look, if you want to make a difference, you want to become influential. Get on boards." Become a board of director. You mentioned, Sivam and, Voice of Men 360. When Sivam approached me, I was quite nervous about taking something else on, right? But I thought, no, here's my chance to make a difference in something that matters to me and be that influential person. So as scared as I was, because you mentioned that, and I want to talk about that, as scared as I was to take on that responsibility, because we as men, we do that too. We shy from responsibility. I stepped up and I took on the responsibility. I wanted this opportunity. So I jumped on board. But we don't do that as men. We shy away from that responsibility. Why is that?
Exactly. So when I was asked to be the trustee on the board with the seniors, I knew there were challenges, but I said, you know what, I'm going to get in there and do it the right way. I'm not going to get into stuff. And the thing about it is that if we are not sure about what you're going to do, you talk to other people who've been in the position to get an idea of what's happening. Don't be afraid of taking on challenges. I think it's important that we take on challenges. Every day we get off our bed and we jump in that car or we take a walk, there's a challenge in our life. Are we going to make it back home? Right? It's the same thing of getting on a board. You're not getting on a board to be the boss. You're getting on a board to help the board move forward with
Right.
whatever goals and aspirations. And I was involved with International Men's Day here in Toronto. Okay, Sivam, that's how Sivam found out about me. And I know Jerome Tilak, Dr. Jerome Tilak Singh. We've met a few times. He's been up here. He's done some presentations for us. And I learned from him coming up here and talking, right? And ever so often I talk to him on the phone in Trinidad. When I go to Trinidad, I try and hook up with him at least once. And that's important too, because you always try and learn from people that have been there before or can continue to teach you. I think it's important. Don't be a coward. You can't be a coward. When you get on a board, you're not getting on a board for name. You're getting on a board to help the organization move forward, to help the goals and ideals of that organization move forward.
Yeah, listen, I will tell you the biggest worry I have. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm in and part of Voice of Men because I believe in what we do. I believe there's symmetry in the work I'm about to do and the work that Voice of Men 360 is doing. So I belong in this organization, and I think I represent them well. But I will always say there always been that worry is my name. It's not about the name I'm going to build because I belong to Voice of Men 360 is, does my name represent Voice of Men 360 well? Right? There's the worry I always have to be.
Well,
Can I step into that?
you can't be everything to everyone all the time. And we are going to stumble. Remember, I talked about that a couple of times. We are going to stumble occasionally along the way, but you got to pick up. You got to pick up and move on. If you don't pick up and continue growing and building, and it's you too as an individual, you feel good about yourself when you come out of a situation where you know you've helped someone. You don't have to go on. And that's another thing. Some people get on boards just to get a name. I don't get on board to get a name. I get on board to work with the organization to teach them proper ideals so they can understand, so they can get away from the bickering and so on and thing. The funny thing about it is when I was asked to be the chair of council at my church, when I was asked the first time around, I said, no, I am not ready as yet, right? Because I didn't think that I had the ability. And then I sat down with two different reverends and I spoke to both of them. And I had a conversation with both of them. And they both said to me, Shane, we will support you. We will help you move forward. And that's what mentoring is all about, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, to be able to reach out to somebody and get that counsel and get that advice is beyond belief. How many times do you pass up? I know myself at least a dozen times I passed up on an opportunity because I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I was qualified.
Yeah. You'll be surprised when you get into this sort of role of mentoring and leadership and that sort of thing, how you tend to rise to the occasion. You
Yes.
never lower yourself into another occasion. You tend to continue to rise. And you become, I wouldn't say braver, you become more affluent with things and with ideas and with helping people make decisions, because
Yes.
it's very important. In my mortgage broker and business, which is my pet, right? I tell people all the time, we're not looking to make money. We're building relationships. And when you build relationships with people, and we as men, we build relationships with our sons, we build with relationships with other people, because they look up to us to help lead them or
Yes.
guide them into making their biggest major financial decision they're going to make,
Yes.
and guide them in that process.
Yes, and that's what we're all about here. And again, and when look, Sivan gave me the name R.J. Horner, Vice President of Voice of Men 360, and to me that means something. I have stepped up to aspire to that name, right? It's okay. The name is mine, but I mean the reputation and everything that has to come along with it. He's allowed me to aspire and achieve that level, and now I just follow and I do the work, and it's been such a dream opportunity because I just have the conversations with people like yourself who are going to share the wisdom and share the guidance that other men out there need. Again, by us opening up and having these conversations, we change the world for the future, for the betterment of others, for our boys and men to come.
Yeah, and one of our faults as males is that we don't let our emotions out, and I think that's key in becoming a leader. You have to develop that.
Yes, you have to develop it because if you don't know how to let your emotions out and you start to let your emotions out, you can let your emotions out in the wrong ways,
Right.
right? It's like opening up a floodgate. So I will say, if you've never opened up your emotions before, yes, it's okay to do so, but I will say get guidance
Yep.
on that journey for sure. Because that's opening up. It's like opening up a dam, right? You never know what you might let through.
Yeah, and I think having been involved in leadership and mentoring and that type of thing, I think we learn about handling that as we move forward also, and it's difficult sometimes.
It is.
But I think, again, as I said earlier, also when you stumble, you get up, you assess, and you move forward. And I think I believe that's what has to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. You gave us some great advice, some great guidance. Couple of questions I like to ask before leaving the show. So, what can we do as a society to help our young men and boys grow?
I think what we're doing right now, one of the things we're doing right now, organizations like the International Day of the Man, the Voice of Men 360, all these help. I think it's important. One of my brother-in-laws belong to a church, and they go away for a men's leadership, right, on a weekend where they and it's religion based, but it's a men's leadership. It's to becoming leaders, to lead, to give example to our younger people, that sort of thing. All these, any opportunity that comes across that lends to that sort of thing is very important, because we need that in a society that is constantly jumping on men. I know there are a few rotten apples out there, and we have to accept that also. However, we also have to learn to rise above that and not live with that shadow over us. That's one of the things I believe we do. The other thing is we had having an annual conference where we can get, it's a male-driven conference, where we can just talk about male stuff. There's International Day of the Woman. Well, we have International Day of the Man. We need to up our game here.
Yep. No, totally agreed. Totally agreed. And we leave our men prepared for what is to come, right? We give them
Correct.
opportunity. So then what can our young men and boys do to empower themselves?
They first of all have to find a good mentor, whether it's their dad, whether it's their uncle, whether it's their older brother. And sometimes you might be surprised, a younger sibling might be a mentor also, because some of us tend to stray. And I think it's important. So we find a mentor first of all. Talk to you if you're involved in any organization, whether it be at work or wherever it is. You talk to someone. You says, where do you think I can find a mentor? And that's the first thing. And then you have a heart-to-heart conversation with your mentor about, I really need to get my life together for these reasons. And sometimes you have to go in the direction, as you mentioned in the beginning, that you have to get professional help. But sometimes it's just getting somebody that you can just call up and say, hey, you got 5 minutes to talk? I got a bit of a situation. I want to talk with you. And you should have a friend like that. We all should have a friend, and a male friend, a man-to-man conversation, that we can have a conversation. Look, I'm having this challenge, whether it be at work, with my marriage, with whatever it is, where I don't quite understand how I'm supposed to handle it. So getting a mentor is very important. Finding an organization that can help you get a mentor is the second thing. Look for one around you, whether it be online or whether it is in person. Because in business, we all look for mentors to build our business. Why can't we look for mentors to build our life? I think that is very important.
Absolutely. And they're out there. You know what? You belong to a church that is full of mentors, right?
Yes.
And mentees. So I love also that you mentioned, a younger sibling, but let's draw attention to that. A younger person, a younger person in your office, or
Right.
so don't feel that because they're younger than you, they couldn't possibly be your mentor or offer you guidance. There's somebody out there that could be able to speak to you and to able to ease you through the next part of your journey.
Correct. And you are 100% correct there, because I have come across younger people than myself. I look up to them because of how they lead, how they carry about themselves in their relationships with their spouses, how they carry on their relationships with their children, and with their male or female children, that sort of thing. I think it's very important. You will find a mentor if you really seriously, and you need a mentor in your life. You will probably find one. Just ask, and you will tell. As an individual, as a man, you can tell. Is this person serious? Is this person not serious? If you're not sure, reach out to a local pastor or someone that can point you in the right direction, a local leader, that sort of thing, because there's tons of organization out there that can help us with getting mentors. And the demands of society has made it very important that we find mentors and we look up to them for the right reasons. Mentors that can mentor us in the right way, because there are different mentors. There are mentors for music. There's mentors for for whatever, right? But you want a mentor for life, and you try and find that. I know it could be difficult, but you keep trying.
Sure, and there's other ways out there. There's other places, community centers, social organizations at work. So there are other places. There are other avenues that, if you just look for them, there's a place where you could belong. The board of directors, as we mentioned, right? So find your place. Finding your passion is certainly a way to open up. Anything else you'd like to leave us with before we end today?
No, I said it earlier in the program. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. To get something different, you got to do something different. And I think to make a difference in your life, it's important that you identify that you need some mentoring. We all need mentors. So
Yes.
please, everyone should have one.
Yes, thank you. Shane, Suepaul, thank you for joining us and sharing your life journey with us today. I appreciate your courage and willingness to open up and share with other men about your life struggles and challenges.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. So a few announcements. As many Canadians know, our Indigenous communities are facing a big crisis right now, and we have stepped up with our Voice of Men 360 donation drive for Indigenous families. We're still collecting. If you have any items, clothing, dry food items, or other items donatable, please, we're working to collect them. Call 416-7414 or 437-889-8329. Email info@voiceofmen360 or reach out to us through Facebook Messenger. We're working to coordinate those items. We also like to take a moment to mention that tomorrow, September 29th, will mark the first ever National Day for Truth and Recognition. This is an annual day for commemoration honoring the children who died while attending residential schools and the survivors' families and communities still affected by the legacy of this residential school system. And thus, what we are working to improve with our donation drive. So we wanted to acknowledge that right there. So thank you for that. Tomorrow, September 30th, being the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Um, Moving on, we have a few live shows here that we participate. The first one you belong to just now is called Open Up, where we invite people to share their life journey. Where and this takes place 6 p.m. Wednesday evenings or Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We also host a live talk show in Tamil language. This is called Vili, which means I. This takes place Sundays at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Then we host a monthly webinar the first Saturday of every month at 10:30 Eastern Time, where AM Eastern Time, where we bring the expertise of organizations to discuss a particular topic of interest to them. The next topic will be on Saturday, October 2nd at 10:30. The changing face of fatherhood, the rise of single dads. So please come out and join us for that. We also host a monthly special show called The Unspoken Tears, which focuses on domestic violence against men, bullying, male sexual abuse, and human trafficking. Yes, these things do happen. So we are discussing that on The Unspoken Tears the second Saturday of every month from 10:30 or 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We also co-host a show with the All Bengal Men's Forum. This is called the South Asian Men's Show, and thus focuses on issues facing South Asian men. This takes place the third Sunday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30 Eastern Time. Find out more from our platform, and also we turn all of our content into podcast episodes. So please look out on your favorite platform: Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and more. We're also hosting some support groups here in Open Up or in Voice of Men 360, where the first one is Men for Men Only. Every 2 weeks, Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. through Zoom. The next one will be October 5th. Again, this is Men for Men Only, so only men are eligible to attend. Please register through Zoom for that event. We also host an Indigenous peer-to-peer support group. This one we call Pass the Talking Stick. That takes place the fourth Friday of every month. The next one will be Friday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. through Zoom. Once again, there are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walks of life are invited to participate in any of our programming. If you want to be a guest on our shows, or if you're willing to be a part of our organization and help us, whether directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We're looking to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, corporations, NGOs, and more. If you want to work with us, again, please reach out to us. Our phone number is 437 889 8329. Email us info@voiceofmen360.org, which makes our website www.voiceofmen360.org. You can also reach us at voiceofmen360.com or voiceofmen360.ca. You can also find us on all of your social media platforms: Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more on our YouTube channel. And then, of course, our Facebook group where we interact and get all of our information, facebook.com/group/Voice of Men 360, where don't forget to share this message, share these videos. We're looking to create awareness. We're looking to raise the voice. We're looking to more than double our membership in the next month and a half by International Men's Day. We're looking to increase to 5,000 members. Now we're over 2,500 members there, so we're going to double in the next couple of months. So please join us for that. Please share the message as we look to increase our membership to 5,000 members by November 19th, International Men's Day 2021. Thank you for joining us today. Again, we want to continue this program, continue to raise awareness. We want to reach out to more people and help more people, and please continue your support. So thank you for joining us today. And until next time, I'm the Vice President of Voice of Men 360 and your host, asking you to open up.